morning. Let's get our problem set up for the day and then we'll get started. So today's problem is this. It's going to be a two-parter, so get ready. We're going to do part one in part one of our video, and then we're going to do part two in part two of the video. So let's see if we can keep up. Here we go. Taylor made a bag of popcorn. She gave her sister 17 kernels of popcorn and her brother 13. How many kernels did she give away? So this one I tried to make a little tricky for you, and I'm going to explain to you why. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to circle our numbers. We're going to circle the 17 and we're going to circle the 13. And we can go ahead and cross out our C. Now, when I say, how many did she give away? Sometimes when we hear the word give away, we think subtraction. But in this case, we're not. And the reason why is because she gave two people kernels of corn, not just one. So I didn't say, I didn't want to know how many she has left. I want to know how many together did she give away. So we have to take one part, add it to the other part to get the total amount that she gave away. So stay with me. So we're going to underline gave away, and then we're going to go ahead and box the question, and then we can go ahead and get started. So now, she gave her sister 17. So let's go ahead and draw quick tens and ones today. So we know 17 is 1 10 and 7 ones. So we're going to go ahead and draw that. And you're going to try to make sure that you have them in a nice straight line. The other thing is this. You might want to go ahead and recount to make sure that you wrote them right. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, I did it right. Sometimes I get talking and then I write the wrong number down. So I want you to make sure that you check your work as well. Now we have to draw the 13 that she gave to her brother. So remember, we're not going to just draw 13 over here. We're going to do the quick tens with the quick tens and the ones with the ones. Now before we draw them, I want you to think about something. I have 7 here. Now I know that I'm going to have to add to that before I make a new row or new column. So how many more does 7 need to make a 10? If you said 3, you're absolutely right. So luckily we have 13, so we have 10, 11, 12, 13. Look at that. It worked out perfectly. So 7 and 3 is 10, so I have another 10. So if I was to make my tens and ones frame, I would say 3 tens and 0 ones. So my answer is 30. So she gave 30 kernels of corn away. So we're going to come down here. We know that she gave her sister 17 and she gave her brother 13. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out my hundreds chart. So again, I need you to remember this. When you're working on your hundreds chart, you're adding 10 by jumping down a box. You're subtracting 10 by going up a box. If you're adding ones, you're going forward and then down. And if you're subtracting ones, you're going backwards and up. So let's add. So we had 17, and then she had 13 to her brother. So we have to add 13. Now remember, 13 is 10, 3. So we have 10, 11, 12, 13. Look at that. I have 30, and guess what? I'm going to make this 30. I'm going to actually erase this because this doesn't look very good. I got a little sloppy on you. Sorry about that. There we go. And then I can go ahead and put the 30 in the middle. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to make our number sentence. So our number sentence is 17 plus 13 to give us our answer. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite my problem. I'm going to have my 17 plus my 13. Make sure you're doing this with me. Draw your line down the middle. Put your box up here. Okay? Now, you just told me 7 plus 3 is 10. So if 7 plus 3 is 10, I can't write 10 down here. The highest number I can write down there is 9. So what I'm going to do is I have to write 10 as what it is. 10 is 1 10 and 0 ones. 1 10, 0 ones. So now I need to add your tens. So 1 plus 1 is 2. But we don't want to forget about that 1 down here. We're going to circle that because now 2 plus 1 more is 3. So look at that. We came up with an answer of 30 again. So now I can write that in the box in the middle. And lastly, what we're going to do is we're going to write our statement. So we said, how many did she give away? She gave away, and these words were right on there, 30 kernels. And then you have a complete answer by putting it right here and crossing off your S. Okay? So what we just did was we said, okay, she gave away 30 kernels. Now, the next part, we're going to take this problem a little bit further. So erase your whiteboards, set up your problem again, and then we're going to get started. Okay, so here we are with the second part of our word problem. So if you think about it, we know now that she gave away 30 kernels of corn. Okay, so you need to remember that piece. So here's the rest of it. If Taylor started with 57 kernels of popcorn, how many does she have left? Okay, now again, we need to remember that number 30. So I'm actually going to write it down here. Okay, and then we're going to circle the number 57. We can go ahead and circle the 30. Cross off the C. Do you see the magic word? Yeah, it's the word left. That tells us that this time we're going to be subtracting, because think about it. What she did was she had 57 kernels to start. That's her total. She took out of there one of the parts, which was 30, so that leaves us with the second part. So whenever you start with your total and have a part, then you know that you're subtracting. Then we can go ahead and box the question, which, believe it or not, this whole entire thing is a question. And we can cross off our B, and then we can go ahead and get started with our problem. So we know that she had 57. So I'm not going to draw tens frames for 57. I'm going to draw quick tens and ones. Now, how do I know how many I need? Well, I'm going to draw myself a tens and ones frame. Okay? So I have 57. 50 is 5 tens, and then the 7 is 7 ones. So I need to draw 5 tens, quick tens, and 7 ones. So I'm going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm going to draw my 7 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's my 57. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross out the number that she gave away. So remember, she gave away 30. So how much is 30? 3 tens. So I'm going to cross off 3 tens. 10, 20, 30. So what I'm left with is all of this right here. So it looks like I have 2 tens. And remember, my ones don't change. 7 ones. So 27 is our answer. So now, if I come down here, we're going to label this K for kernels of corn. And we know that she started with 57 kernels of corn. I'm going to put here G because she gave away 30 of them. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take out our hundreds chart. So again, I'm going to put my finger on 57. Now this time, instead of adding and jumping down, I'm actually subtracting. So that means I've got to go up. And it's super easy because it's 3 tens, right? 30. So we have 10, 20, 30. The answer is 27, and it matches here, 27. So we're going to put an L for left, and she has 27. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write my number sentence. She started with 57. She took out 30. And again, I'm going to rewrite the problem. So I'm going to write 57. This time it's minus 30. And what I'm going to do is I'm still going to draw a line down the middle so that you recognize the tens and ones. And again, we're going to start with our ones. But this time we're counting backwards, right? So what is 7 minus 0? Well, if you have 7, you don't take anything away. You still have 7. Remember, that's not going to change. Now we go to our tens. I had 5, and I take 3 away. 1, 2, 3. I'm left with 2. So my answer is 27. Put it in the box. And now I need to answer my question. How many kernels does she have left? She has 27 left. And then you can go ahead and put it in the box, and we'll cross off the S. And that's your two-part problem. So remember, it's really important that you understand what you're doing, because sometimes the first part is going to affect the second part of your problem. And if you get the first part wrong, the second part's going to be wrong. So you have to really pay close attention. Hold on for our lesson. Okay, so here we are with our lesson for today. Now, what we're doing is we're working with halves and quarters again. So we're taking a shape and we're dividing it into equal parts. That means that it has to be the same size for every part that you divide it into. So for example, if we're dividing it into halves, now half is divided into two pieces. So think about it. If you gave somebody a cookie and you split it, you're giving it to one other person, you're going to give yourself the same amount as you give the other person. So you're splitting it in half. Now, I've given you two ways to do this. So this is a rectangle, right? Now, the rectangle can be split down the middle. And then if I folded that rectangle, it would be exactly the same if I split it down the middle. But what I could also do is split it the long way. And isn't this the same size as down below? So I split it into two equal parts. Then what I did was I went ahead and I shaded one of the parts. And what I did was I shaded 1 out of 2. I want you to remember that fraction, these are called fractions, and this fraction is the fraction 1/2. And what that means is 1 in that line means out of 2. So I shaded 1 piece out of 2 pieces. And just a little hint, that's what your homework's going to be about this for today. Now let's take a look at quarters. Quarters are 4, dividing something into 4, okay? Now, again, they have to be equal parts. So I showed you how to divide a rectangle into 4 parts here by just doing like a plus sign in the middle of it. But couldn't I do it this way too? If I drew if I drew lines down the middle and I separated it into 4 equal parts, as long as it's equal parts, then you can say, yep, it's set the way it's supposed to be. It's a quarter. It's broken up into quarters. If you do not have them equal, then they're not quarters. So let me show you what I mean. So if I was to divide the same rectangle and I did this, are those equal parts? No, those aren't equal parts. What about this? Would those be equal parts? What do you think? That one's a tricky one. Those actually aren't equal parts, because aren't these two bigger than these two? So those aren't equal parts. So you can be tricked. Now, the other thing I want you to look at is this. What if I gave you a letter? What if I gave you a letter? So for example, if I give you the letter E, okay? Here's the letter E. Can I break that into a half, so into 2 pieces, so that it's equal on both sides? But what if I did it down like this? Would that make it equal? Hopefully you're shaking your heads going, no, Mrs. Parsons, that's not equal. But what happens, I'm going to use actually a different color. What happens if I break it like this? Does that make it equal? Yes, it does. So what we can say is this. I can break that into halves, but what I can also say is the letter E is symmetrical, because I can break it into 2 equal parts. So when something gets broken into equal parts like this, that is symmetrical. Now, what if I took a look at a different letter? So, for example, the letter B. Is there a way to break that down into equal parts? Well, the answer is no, there's not. Because even if I drew this, isn't this bottom bigger than the top? If I drew down the middle like this, same thing, right? This doesn't look anything like this. So you really need to look at it and be able to see whether or not it's equal parts or not. Now, the other thing I want to show you is this. For your homework tonight, you are going to be asked to shade in some shapes. So, and you're also going to be asked if something is broken into equal parts. So, a couple different things. So, the first thing is this. If I have a circle, and this is going to be like one of yours, And if I broke it down like this, are those equal parts? The answer is no. You can't shade an equal part in that, can you? There's no equal parts because that one's small, that one's big, and these two don't match. So no equal parts. Now, what if I gave you this shape? It might say to you, okay, I want you to go ahead and I want you to color in a quarter. So if I color in a quarter, all you're doing is coloring in, remember, 1 out of 4. So you have to really make sure you understand what the directions are for your homework for tonight. And speaking of which, your homework for tonight is going to be lesson 8. So you're looking for problem set 8. And here's your directions. The first one says, are the shapes divided into halves? So, for example, if I had the same circle and I divided it like this, are they divided in halves? You could say, yeah, they are, right? Equal parts. But if I moved that line to here, are they equal parts? No. So I want you to be careful about that. So now, here's your directions. So it says, are the shapes divided into equal parts? Yes or no? So basically what you're doing is you're looking at the shape and you're writing either yes or no on your page. Not hard, right? And then the next one, on the bottom it says, are they divided into quarters? So again, are they divided into 4 parts? And I want you to think, when you hear the word quarters, you should be thinking there's 4 quarters in a dollar. Okay, see the connection there? So what you're going to do is you're going to say, okay, yes or no, are they divided into 4 parts? So 2 parts, 4 parts. Then on the second page, it's asking you to color half. So you're going to be coloring half of each of these shapes up here, and then down here I want you to color a quarter of the shapes. So that's 1 out of the 4, right? And then your last page here, which is your exit ticket, very quick, you need to follow the directions that are given in each box. So you're either looking for the word half or you're looking for the word quarter. And how are you going to figure that out? Well, halves, it starts with an H, quarter starts with that QU. So, not too bad today. And I hope yesterday you had a chance to do some of your coloring and make yourself a symmetrical shape and design it. So, if you have any problems, let us know. If not, I will see you tomorrow.